Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism and narcissistic relationships and healing. Here's a question for you. Drop your answer in the comments. Are narcissistic people jealous of everyone else? What are your thoughts? A lot of people wonder, are they just jealous of us? Okay, let's talk about that. My answer to that is yes, but probably not for the reasons you may hope. Narcissistic jealousy is a very common dynamic in narcissism. Now remember, jealousy in and of itself is a universal emotion. We're going to feel it as human beings when we're in competition for resources or affection. And in general, it's kind of an unpleasant feeling. If we don't care about something or are secure in what we have, we're not going to be as prone to jealousy. But even in a secure relationship, for example, if you notice your partner flirting or giving an inordinate amount of attention to someone who's also being a little bit flirty, you have that jealous feeling. Personally, I know my relationships in the past have been dead in the water. When I found out, when I see them flirting or being shady, I simply didn't care. I'm almost thinking now you could be someone else's problem. Kind of hope they would just find someone else and save me the trouble of ending it. So there was no jealousy at those times. So jealousy, there's definitely, you have to have a little bit of skin in the game, right? Now, someone recently asked me, are narcissistic people jealous of our capacity for empathy, connection, intimacy, closeness? In other words, are narcissistic people jealous basically of healthy people's healthy personalities, relationships, and lives? And the answer to that is probably not. The amount of self-awareness required for a narcissistic person to have the depth, again, and self-awareness that empathy and closeness and vulnerability and deep connection are good, and to recognize that they don't have that capacity and that others do, it means that's just too many conceptual leaps that they're not going to be able to make. So no, they're not jealous of our empathy. What narcissistic people do get jealous of, and I mean really jealous, is if they covet what someone else has. Someone else has the car, the lifestyle, the status, the house, the stuff, the girlfriend, boyfriend, lover, whatever that someone else has. Or they're jealous of an ex-partner who has moved on, or maybe a sibling or a family member who is doing better than them, usually financially. Then the narcissistic jealousy can be explosive, and it can result in passive aggression, overt aggression, insults, social media dissing, anger, and in some cases even stalking behavior. But you might even say this is more covetousness than jealousy, but they'll experience it as that uncomfortable jealousy. Listen, all of us, even folks with healthy personalities, do get jealous. A person struggling with infertility may be jealous of a pregnant friend. A person who is struggling financially may be jealous of a friend with a really well-paying job. A person who wants a home of their own or a larger place to live may be jealous of someone who has those things, a big place to live. In those cases, the jealousy doesn't mean wishing bad on the other person or even wanting them to lose it, but rather wanting what they wanting what they have, because it may hit a wound or a need of ours. And listen, I'm going to give the narcissistic folks their props on this one, right? They're wishing for what they want to soothe their wounds too, right? Their insecurity, their ego needs, their fragility, their need for dominance, those are experienced as real needs by them. And the belief is that if they have these other things that they could feel good about, just status and money, whatever. So if they don't have them and someone else does, then they feel jealous. That's human. But the idea that they're actually jealous of our empathy and our flexibility and our psychological health, if it's happening, might be a little bit, but if it is, it's really happening at such an unprocessed level. It's possible, like I said, but it's not going to be something they can access without years of self-examination or therapy. It would render a narcissistic person too vulnerable to dig that deep into themselves and pull that kind of feeling out. but the fantasy that it's just as simple as jealousy and that they're jealous of your empathy and your goodness. There is a longing and yearning that exists in narcissistic people that they cannot express. That is true. Ironically, it's the same yearning that exists in all of us, to be loved, to be seen, to be cherished, and to be valued. But for narcissistic folks, by not being in touch with those universal wants, they lash out at a world that can never deliver it as much as they want it to. It's quite likely that a sense of jealousy is a little of what drives them, of seeing people having genuine simple joys in their lives, and instead of just throwing themselves into the simple joys, may even have contempt for the simple joys others are able to have and have a wonderful time with. Some have said to me, it almost feels easier to think that they're jealous of me. Then, at least, I can find and feel some serenity in my life. That's not a totally wrong assumption, but it's not at the superficial level of them actually understanding that's what's happening. I do think that a lot of why narcissistic people go through the world in such a combative, angry way is because there's an unfulfilled yearning in them. For many of us, that yearning is unfulfilled. The difference is, in a healthy person, they can name it and talk about it. For a narcissistic person, they're attempting to fill that hole with stuff that's never going to work. Hope that clarifies it. So I guess the answer to that question about jealousy is sort of, but it's a lot more complicated than you think. Thanks again.